There's a question I personally wanted to ask you that I have not some time, and that's the tide thunderstorms where they just come right out of nowhere. Anyways, I wanted to ask you about, there's more countries that are in strife and unrest and protest, and I don't want to say any other time, but this is certainly a very active period of disrupting us and things like that. It doesn't seem the model of just printing money and giving it to the financial class for them to shuffle it around in their various casinos seems to be the answer. What about the idea of a people's bailout, where you could get people out of some debt, you could raise some consumption, and once that you get Main Street working again, then the idea is that everything would come together. However, there are some countries that I believe that are suited for this solution, some countries that wouldn't be suited for this solution. Taking this idea, do you see it applicable in any countries that you currently see dealing with some big unrest and economic problems?
Well, I mean, I'm of course against money printing because that has been observed already by numerous economists in the past, including Copernicus. The money doesn't flow evenly into the system, and it doesn't benefit everybody to the same extent. It actually creates a very significant wealth and income inequality.
Sure.
But I'm to a large extent against debt forgiveness, because let's say you buy a car on credit, and then the government comes in and says, okay, you don't need to pay back this loan.
Okay.
It creates a moral hazard. So the next time you buy a house and then you hope the government, or you have no intention to pay the loan, you expect the government to bail you out again. So I believe it's better to let the business cycle go through these cycles, and okay, there is a credit expansion and people borrow too much, then they can't pay, then they default and so forth, then there are losses. I don't believe the government should step in bailing out the system.
But you don't think that Switzerland should do the basic income scheme either, I'm guessing?
I'm against minimum wages in principle, because it has been empirically established that it doesn't boost anything. It doesn't boost employment. It doesn't boost the standards of living of low-income recipients. Frequently, actually, it has an adverse impact. But I also need to point out, different people have different, say, views about the role of the government. In my view, the best economists and the most dynamic economists and the ones that will grow the most, they have the smallest possible government. And the larger the government becomes, the more stagnant the economy becomes. Whereby smaller economies have a better chance to have a large government that essentially represents the interest of the people than large economies. So we have democracies that function reasonably well in Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Norway, Switzerland, and so forth, whereas they don't function very well in large countries. And but it doesn't change my view. You want to have a dynamic economy, let the government stay aside. Have simple laws, a flat tax rate, constant money supply growth, maybe 3% per annum, maybe 2% per annum, maybe no money supply growth at all. But it should be fixed and not at the discretion of some academics who essentially never worked in their lives.
Power types.
Yes, exactly. And so I think to give these people that kind of power, to give the central bankers that kind of power, is crazy.
It's kind of scary the way you put it out.
Yes, it's crazy.
I hear you. And the thunder is even on time.
Yes,
Marc Faber here.